فهو لأسقامهم شفاء وعلى قلوبهم ضياء لا يستأنسون إلا بي ولا يحطون رحال قلوبهم إلا عندي ولا يستقر بي قرار إلا إليه. Sorry, that was a bit long, but it's all linked up together. So he says, God revealed to Moses, upon whom be peace, be as a lone bird which eats from the treetops, drinks plain water, and when night falls seeks refuge in a cave, seeking intimacy with me, feeling estranged from those who disobey me. O Moses, I have imposed it upon myself that I shall not allow the works of those who draw away from me to be completed. I shall disappoint those whose hopes are in other than me. And I shall break the backs of those who seek support from other than me. And I shall cause to be estranged those who love other than me. O Moses, I have servants to whom I listen when they speak to me, to whom I come when they call me, whom I bring closer when they approach, whom I protect when they draw nearer, whose side I take when they take mine, to whom I am sincere when they are sincere with me, whom I reward when they act, whose affairs I manage, and whose hearts and states I govern. I gave their hearts to find tranquility only in my remembrance, which is the cure of their sickness and the light of their hearts. They find solace only in me. They allow their hearts to rest with me alone and are settled only when going towards me. So again, it's one of those statements that we've heard, particularly in this last chapter, where it's pretty much the summation of one's Sayyid ila Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in one paragraph. In other words, the summation of how a person progresses to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that when a person progresses to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how Allah azza wa jal acts towards that person. And then what that person is going to get in terms of their nearness and growth and progression to Allah, with regards to how Allah perceives that progression and growth and nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to Musa, Ya Musa kun ka tayrin wahdani. So why is the description there of a bird? Because birds tend to travel in flocks. Generally birds travel in quite large numbers. And so he's saying, be like the singular bird. And when we look at singular birds, generally we're looking at the top of the food chain as well. Generally it's eagles and, pretty much eagles and falcons and those predatory birds, rather than the scavenger birds. Even vultures and those scavenger birds, they tend to travel in flocks. He says, except there's a thing, one time we saw this documentary about India where there was like millions and millions and millions of falcons. They gather at one place to breed and things, but generally they're solitary birds. And there's always exceptions in nature. Yeah, you know why there's exceptions in nature? That's to prove the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because if things were to occur in the evolutionary change, there would be no difference. There would be no exceptions to rules. Because rules, whether they came about willy-nilly, arbitrarily out of nothing, right? Or they progress from something, that's it. In nature, when things get set in motion and things get produced, they're produced the same. So when we always have exceptions to all the rules in nature, every time there's always an exception to every rule. It shows the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to those that can ponder, because they're inexplicable. They can't explain why something's like this, but all the species is like this except one is a little bit different. All the whatever it is like this, and there's one that's a little bit different. It's an anomaly. And anomalies don't occur in systems. Anomalies occur outside of systems. So this is showing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's greatness, and it's the proof of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's existence within nature. He says, be like the individual bird, يَأْكُلُ مِنْ رُؤُوسِ الْأَشْجَارِ, that eats from the top of the treetops. It doesn't even go to the ground, right? It's not connected to the earth in that sense. It's a bird that flies and eats from the top of the treetops and of the good things. وَيَشْرَبُ مِنَ الْمَاءِ الْقَرَاحِ. He says, eats from the plain water, drinks from the plain water. In other words, it's not looking for different types of juices and different types of waters and whatever else it might be. So it's a metaphor for how our lives should be, in terms of our intimacy with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in terms of being friends with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, BFF. He says, فَإِذَا حَبَّهُ اللَّيْلَ أَوَى إِلَى كَهْفٍ مِنَ الْكُهُوفِ استئناسا بي واستحياشا من من عصاني. He says that when the night comes or overcomes one, he says when night falls, seeks refuge in a cave, in the most simple of homes. In other words, it's a naturally occurring home, the cave. Not to be extravagant in one's desire or seeking to. It's a sitra. People should have homes. It's like cars. It's one of the basic necessities of life. But not to be extravagant in that, but simple. Firstly, istitnasan bi. So what should a home be? Now it's like, what should a home be for the person who seeks Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? First thing, it should be for one to seek intimacy with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In other words, a place where one can connect, where one is free to worship, for one is free. One time we spoke to one of the sheikhs and he was moving house. I said, Sheikh, you're in your 60s, why would you move house? He says, because I can't really worship Allah in this house. The house is too small. If I get up in the middle of the night, and we'll see sometimes, they cry out to Allah, they read something, they have a condition with Allah and they yell and they carry on. He said, I can't do that in this house. So they moved to a new house. We had a little garage thing at the back, so like a khalwa they call it, so he could worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That was his prime intention in moving home. He had no other intention, no intention of getting a pool and 2-story and whatever. وَإِسْتِحْيَاشًا مِمَّنْ عَصَانِي, and to feel estranged from those who disobey me. Because again, that's a home is one's refuge. To go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in worshipping Allah, and to be free from whatever else is going out there, from the fitan, from the trials, from the tribulations that are in the world. And so when we have difficulties in our lives, the first question we should be asking ourselves is, what's the condition of my home? What's the condition, and if we're just an individual living in our parents' home, what's the condition of my room? What do I do in my room? What's the primary activity that I do in my room? What's my intention when I go home and go to my room? So it's these types of things that determine for us how we're going to end up with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with our progression to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's the intentions we should have in our accommodations. إِنِّي آلَيْتُ عَلَى نَفْسِي أَنْ لَا أُتِمَّ لِمُدَبِّرْ عَنِّي عَمَلًا. Says that, O Moses, I have imposed it upon myself that I shall not allow the works of those who draw away from me to be completed. So those people that turn away from Allah Azza wa Jal, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not going to give them tawfiq, basically. And tawfiq is one of the primary commodities. وَمَا تَوْفِيقِي إِلَّا بِاللَّهِ, Sayyidina Shu'aib said. That my success is only through Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the people that don't stay close with Allah, and people that become estranged or leave Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the deals won't be fixed, the intentions won't be completed. And so even we see it amongst the people who have the outward appearance of righteousness, somewhere during the path, what that turning away from me is turning to oneself. So when one turns to oneself, it was my capacity, it was my ability, it was my this, it was my this, it was my that enabled this centre to be built, or whatever it might be. And how many times have we seen people fall from grace when Allah, because their plans didn't come to fruition because of their own egoism. Really, that's that one values themselves over they value others, and then people fall from grace when it comes to these things, or they build something or they do something, and it ends up being that ends up being the cause of their destruction rather than the cause of their salvation. Like Nimrud, he was against Sayyidina Ibrahim. He had the money and he ruled half the world, and scholars talk about. And in the end, he wanted people to come and crawl on their chest towards him and bow, and really abase themselves in front of him. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's punishment for him was a little mosquito flew up into his nose, up into his brain. And the only way that he could feel peace, because it was buzzing around, it doesn't say mosquito, but a little insect. And the only way he could feel peace is people got their shoes and they would beat him on his head. And so instead of people coming and bowing and prostrating to him, they came in and they beat him on his head. So that if a person turns away from Allah Azza wa Jal, the very thing that they think is their salvation, or the very thing they think is their success, will be the cause of their demise, will be the cause of their failure in this sense. And that goes with us. If we think it's our intelligence, our connections, our capacity to work on the internet, the people we know, our smarts, our money, our lineage, whatever it might be, whatever the country we're from or whatever, if we think that's going to be the cause for our success, then in the end that individual will turn away from Allah, and Allah Azza wa Jalla won't let them complete whatever they wanted to complete. He says, وَلَأَقَطِّعَنَّ أَمَلَ كُلَّ مَنْ يُؤَمِّلْ غَيْرِي. I shall disappoint those whose hopes are in other than me, which is along the same lines, right? If it's like, we're going to get this person to come and do this for us, and if we get this person to join our committee, and if we get this funding and we get this and we get that, and then that person, their hopes, the word al-amal is aspirations more than hopes. It's an aspiration that a person seeks to have. In other words, a goal that one seeks to achieve. If you want to be really specific, it's more like a goal. So anyone who sets goals and hopes those goals will be fulfilled by other than Allah Azza wa Jal, then Allah will say, okay, we'll leave it. If you don't want me, Allah will say, go ahead, go on, off you go. Do what you think you can do. And again, those people that have done what they've done, if you ask them if they've been happy, super wealthy and all these people, you don't have to ask them, you can just tell generally by their lives where they ended up. وَلَأَقْسُمَنَّ ظَهْرَ مَنْ اسْتَنَدَ إِلَى سِوَايَ. And I shall break the backs of those who seek support from other than me. So those people that, again, hoping for grants from the government and hoping for this and hoping for that's where they're seeking their support from. Oh, if we do this and if we get that, if we have 10 million and we have 20 million and if we do this and we become political and if we get someone to be the prime minister and we whatever, then we'll get this scholar to come and be our representative and we'll whatever. They're hoping for that, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will break these people's backs. In other words, they won't have the strength. A person with a broken back can't even stand. They won't have the strength to walk even when Allah. So they won't be able to achieve anything. The most basic human activity is walking, basically. And they won't even be able to do that when Allah. They'll have no capacity whatsoever. So what he's saying, subhanahu wa ta'ala, whoever seeks support should seek support with Allah. No.
Will this count towards the agenda is, and so they come back to him?
So the two different things are questions about how does the failure of different types of people work. So the first one is istidraj. Generally it's not for the believers. Istidraj, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala lets the person think they're successful. Like Pharaoh. Like as if you're going to follow Musa into the water. I mean, seriously. But that's how deluded the bloke was. That's how out of it he was. So Allah let him think he was going to do something. And when he went in there, he said, I believe in Allah. He says, too late. That's it. So that's istidraj for the disbelievers. And then for the believers, certainly, for the believers, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala lets them keep failing and makes them keep failing for them to come back to Him. But if they decide not to, then they get in that other category. But if they return to Allah, it's to wake them up. It's to make them realize that the only way anything can happen is through the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Oh, good question, Wayakum. He says, وَلَأَطِيلَنَّ وَحْشَةَ مَنِ اسْتَأْنَسَ بِغَيْرِي. And I shall cause to be estranged those who love other than me. Istatnasa again it's just that seeking of intimacy. So again, as we spoke about that last week, people, their hopes and their dreams is to find the one. The one is Allah. That's the one we should be in love with. Not love, in love with. And then if we find someone of this world, then that's fine. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Like the brother was saying when we were doing this marriage, consultation, mediation, sulah, and the brother goes, I don't love my wife anymore. I'm like, where does it say in the Qur'an or in the Sunnah that you should love your wife? He says, I don't like her anymore. I said, where does it say in the Qur'an or the Sunnah you should like your wife? Where is that? not there. And he said, oh, the Prophet ﷺ said that رُزِقْتُ محبتها about Sayyidatna Khadija. So the Prophet ﷺ said that, I was رزقت, that I was blessed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One of the rizq that I had was that I fell in love with Khadija. I said, yeah, okay. That's for him, alayhi salatu wasalam. So, we need to understand that, I'm not saying don't love someone that you're married to. It's great if you do. If you don't like someone, of course you should like them. But that's not the condition. Even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِذَا كُرِهْتُمُوهُنَّ, even if you start to hate them. Yeah, how about that in the Qur'an? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how forward thinking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is revelation to humankind is. He said, even if you do, Allah's going to put khair in them. There's something good, and some of the scholars said it's a child, other scholars said it's other things. So even in that circumstance, so the world we live in, of course the divorce rate's 50% plus. People don't even bother in getting married because they know they're going to get divorced. Why? Because false pretenses. You can't have an expectation that, of that thing. It's great if you do, don't get me wrong. If you're head over heels with the person you're married to, na'imma huwa. That's excellent, that's sensational. If you really like that person, awesome. If you're completely obsessed with that person, alhamdulillah. Right? But if you're not, it's not the end of the world. Your life's not over. Yeah, because we're Muslims, alhamdulillah. In the Family Law Act, it doesn't say how a husband should treat the wife or a wife should treat the husband. There's nothing in there. It's all about some other stuff, injunctions and stuff, right? But in the Qur'an and the Sunnah, it's all laid out. If you go to buy whatever from a car salesman, do you have to like that car salesman? You don't have to love that car salesman or like them or anything. It's a contract. You fulfill your rights and obligations, I fulfill my rights and obligations, and we live together happily ever after. Two believers, two people who have these sifat, these qualities, should be able to do that irrespective of their emotional state. Right? And then how about this? If someone treats you in the right way, you're going to end up liking that person? No doubt. You're going to end up loving that person? No doubt. Even if it's your neighbour. When we were kids, we had a neighbour, the Italian, they used to have boiled lollies. It used to be a joke, But anyway, sherbets, they were yellow football ones, they had sherbet in it. They were like disgusting, but we're kids, we eat anything. We like the guy. If he doesn't speak one word of English, we don't speak one word of Italian. But every time he sees us, he's probably, his grandkids used to come as well, he used to give us the little lollies, and we liked him. And we even loved him. We're kids. What do we know? Yeah? So imagine the person you live with looks after you in that way, respects you in that way, is considerate of you, is compassionate towards you, as if that's not going to be there. So the problem isn't that I don't love so-and-so, that I don't like so-and-so. The problem is that my iman there's a problem with my faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because I'm looking for other than Allah. That's the problem in my marriage, in my life. And then because I'm looking for other than Allah, these things are happening that was just mentioned to Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam. And then instead of, this is the other thing, like what, and no offense, it's generally the sisters and sometimes the brothers, they whinge about everything. Like, alright, life's not perfect. It's not meant to be perfect. That's the next life. If you want perfection, just wait till then. This and that and that and this. Does he go out late at night? No. Does he take drugs? No. Does he gamble? No. Does he pay the rent? Yes. Does he take out the kids? Yes. Does he take you out? Yes. Does he swear at you? No. Does he belittle you? No. Is he good with your parents? Yes. What's the problem? What are you looking for? What do you want? Tell him, you don't know what you want. How is this bloke going to help you get what you don't want? And that's generally what the issue is. Well, how is he going to live up to a standard that's impossible to live up to? You set a standard, the bloke can't live up to it. The same the other way around. She's got 3 or 4 kids. Oh, she's, her stomach. Habib, she's had 3 or 4 kids. What do you want from her? If you want, go to get a chop and a nip and a tuck, and that'll go away. But she's carried your children for 9 months each. She suckled them, whatever else. What are you looking for? Where are you looking aslan to get, in the first place, to get these ideas about what a woman should look like? How can you, I don't understand. How the guy's saying, just put on extra kilos. Duh. What do you want her to do? Like, what, you want her to stay like a 12-year-old boy all her life? She's a woman. She's supposed to have curves. She's supposed to put on weight when she gets older. That's, in other words, especially when she has children. That's, no, I'm not satisfied. You're never going to be satisfied. Even if you get one that's a 12-year-old boy looking, one skinny, sooner or later, she's going to, same. When she has kids, she's going to do the same. And the third, and the fifth, and the 10th. So it's, the problem isn't, the problem is in our iman. The problem is in our iman. What are you looking for in your wife? What is it that you want from her? You can get a plastic and tuck and stretch and push and pull and up and down. You can do that. It's all right. But what's going to happen when she's 50? That's all going to look like a disaster. It's going to look like you put one of those dolls too close to the heaters. It's all going to melt. It's not going to look good later on. Or maybe now for 5, 10 years, 15 years it will. And they've got to keep changing them. They've got to keep updating and, like machines, like your computers and things. Is that what you're looking for? Just turn the lights off. You'll be right. It's not the end of the world, buddy. It's just, wear a blindfold if you have to. It's kind of one of those things they do, role plays and stuff like. Right? I'm not saying that it's a world of need, not a world of want. It's a world of need, not a world of want. If we chase what we want, we'll never, ever, 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 ever be happy. This world's not made. It's like I can't get my phone and use it as a car jack. No matter how strong I think my phone is, it's not made for that. And this dunya isn't made for our wants and our desires. It's made for our needs. And that's what the other hadith was. The first hadith about Isa alayhi salam talking to Bani Israel. Sacrifice from the dunya so your deen is strong. Like those who sacrifice from their deen to get more out of the dunya. Those people who have their backs broken when so that was uns. So when you read in English, when I read English, it doesn't seem to make any sense. He said, وَلَا أُطِيلَنَّ. The people, subhanallah, how it goes, subhanallah, especially about the marriage, I will increase the estrangement. And that's what they're going through. I've been like this, Hamid, it's been like this for 10 years, Sheikh. What do you want me to do for you, Habibi? Like, you're talking about things that Allah doesn't talk about. You're coming to me because I know something about the deen. Deen doesn't talk about that stuff. Deen doesn't. Did he say, alayhi salatu wasalam, that what about his other 10 wives? Did he say about any of them that he's in love with her like he was in love with Khadija? He said to Sayyidatna Aisha, my love and your love is like a rope that's got a knot in it. It can't be untied. It's a different thing. There's another dalil. It's another evidence about that situation, right? It's another evidence. So it's not to say we don't. If we can find someone that we're head over, and that's the good old butterflies in the stomach thing when the guy meets the girl. Turn it up, mate. Like how old are you? It's not a roller coaster where you feel your stomach go up and down when you go on the roller coaster. It's not that. This is a life. This is a contract. You're going to live with another person in a particular way. You've got to be attracted to that person. There's no doubt about it. Got to be attracted. And you've got to look for compatibility. If you're like an artist type person and you want to, go to the ballet and paint and whatever, there's no point marrying a computer engineer, for example, who's just ones and twos at ones and zeros. So maybe you might work out, maybe, but generally speaking, you want two different things. If one person grew up in the eastern suburbs and is like a hippie or whatever, another one's like a merchant banker. Generally, those two types of people, they're not going to get along, no matter how much their deen is. No matter kafa'a, compatibility, is one of the things we're supposed to look for. So basically, someone you're attracted to, basically someone that you're compatible with, and basically someone whose goals, right, match your goals. If you're a Muslim, he's a Muslim, and you want to go study in Mauritania in the desert, and he's happy, he wants to go to Hajj once in his lifetime, do Umrah once in his lifetime, and buy a house and live a simple life. It's not really going to work out. And if you're a high-flying CEO sister who wants to, be the first CEO of a Fortune, whatever blue chip company, whatever, and the bloke is like, handyman cruiser type, you're going to have problems. Yeah, you might be able to put up with it. I'm not saying you can't, but it's probably not a good start to the relationship. That compatibility is an issue there. And if you're a full Zahida, Zahida, like you renounce the earth, you've got renounced the world, you've got 2 dresses, 1 pair of shoes, 1 handbag, right? That's it. And the bloke's like a fashionista, which is the other way around. He's got like 15 pairs of everything and the latest that and whatever. It's going to be hard, right? It's going to be difficult. It's going to be like, and if you want to have 50 kids, right, and she wants to have none, she wants to travel the world and whatever, and you want to have just kids and kids and kids and kids, you're going to have problems. Not to say you can't get over those things. It'd be hard, but my advice is don't get into that situation in the first place. Find someone who's like similar. They don't have to be exactly the same, but there's a compatibility there, and you share the goals that you have. That one day you want to, somewhere along, you want to study in Mauritania, he wants to study in Chechnya, you end up in, Yemen or something. You know what I mean? Something that's reasonable in the circumstances that you can get along with. Or you're the type of sister that needs to put input in everything. And this is like getting to the nitty gritty. You can't, you have to talk about whatever, it's just your nature. And the bloke's full on like, doesn't want to talk to anyone, just wants to make a decision and go on with it. You're going to have problems. If you're the type of sister that just goes with the flow, it's perfect. If someone asks your opinion, you get flustered and you're like, I don't really care, just do whatever. And the bloke's the consultative type and he wants to talk about everything and get into detail about every decision. It's going to be hard. Yeah, so you got to understand yourself, and that's where the difficulty really is. Before you go out and get hitched, you got to understand yourself. You got to know, what am I like? And sometimes it's a bit hard when you're young. What am I like? What do I like? What am I looking for? And then the other one, which I've seen, and heaps of times, particularly from non-Muslim, the sister's like a high flyer, whatever. She wants to stay at home dad, yeah. And then she goes out and works, and she comes home and dad's cooking and all that. Then when they get to 35, 40 roughly is the age, she looks at him, she goes, who's this guy? What a chump. This is what happens. I've had heaps of cases like that. Heaps of cases. Heaps. When they get around, most of the divorce age is 43, 42, 43. And that'll come in the lives of man tomorrow, what happens when a person gets 40. They look and they say, he's not a man. He runs around, drives the kids. That's not a man. Asks her about things. This is what's happening. This is what's happening in the world. It's been happening for 20 years. And she says, get rid of this guy. Get someone that tells me what to do. That's what I'm seeing. That's what I'm saying. I want someone who tells me why should, So you've got to pick those things that suit you rather than suit everyone else as well. Everyone else might be doing whatever they're doing, but it's not good for you. And you know it's not good for you. You know those things. Everyone can feel it. Don't go do what everyone else wants. Do what you know, bi'idhnillah, by praying istikhara, what's best for you. You might marry a guy that nobody likes. So what? That's not an issue. As long as his deen's good, as long as your parents are reasonably, okay with it, and you've made the mashura, you've consulted people who know the person, and you've taken your time to get to know the person, and whatever. It doesn't matter if no one likes him. No big deal. If it's the opposite way around, everyone likes him, and you don't really like him, or her, as the case might be, it's going to be difficult. You're going to have problems. So there are things to consider. Where am I seeking my intimacy? Because that's what we're really all after. Really, in the end, we want to be accepted, and if someone can understand us, that's even better. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, leave it to me. I understand you. I created you. Have a relationship with me. And the other stuff, just live your life. It's just a need. It's not a want. Yeah, if no one in the world understands you, what's going to... Look, let's hold on. Let's close the book for a second. See, while we're on the subject, If not one person in the world understands you, what difference does it truly make? I want an answer. It's not a rhetorical question.
In regards to what?
You, your life, your happiness, your non-happiness. You answer the question. If not one person in the whole world, in other words, you never find anyone that understands you, how will it affect your life? Think about it.
It's very difficult to deal with them.
Difficult to deal with who?
The people around us that don't understand.
So every single person?
That's what you're saying, isn't it? Like if you don't get along with anyone.
No, I'm not saying if you don't get along, if they don't understand you. Because isn't that what we're looking for? Don't we all want someone to understand us? It is. That's what we want. We want people to understand us.
I don't think the other people is the problem. I think they're the problem.
Who's the problem? The people that don't understand you, or the person that's not understood?
The person that's not understood would be the problem.
All right. Any other thoughts? Hold on.
It's going to be lonely.
Are you very lonely? Anything else?
We try our best to be understood, and if we're not understood, then we're not understood.
And okay, we're not understood. What's the effect of that on our lives?
Life goes on.
Doesn't it? This is go back to the beginning of that hadith. It's not hadith, it's from somewhere. Well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed to Musa. Kun ka tayrin wahdani. Right? It says, be as a lone bird. That's Allah telling Sayyidina Musa. Who's what? What's his status with Allah? No? Kalim Allah. He speaks to Allah. So Sayyidina Musa is being told by Allah Azza wa Jal, even though he's close. Allah Azza wa Jal kind of jokes with Musa alayhi salam. Musa, what's in your right hand, Musa? Musa starts telling him, I do this and I do that. It's like, it's like that kind of relationship. He says, Musa, but he doesn't ever call Muhammad, Ya Muhammad. It's always, Ya Nabi Allah, Ya Mudathir. Different things he calls him, Taha, Yasi, etc. It's like a different relationship. Yeah? He's telling that to Sayyidina Musa, who's what? What's his name? Kalim and that's Ibrahim alayhi salam. Sorry, he's Kalim Allah Azza wa Jal. He's close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So in reality, if we're believers, that is, and no one truly understands us, how can another person truly understand you? That's the question I ask. It's not really possible unless it's your Shaykh. Right? Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam, who's Shaykh al-Mashayikh. They really can't. You may perceive that they do. That's all it is. That's all it is. It's a perception that someone truly understands you. They might know your likes, your inclinations, your habits, but no one can truly understand another human being unless they're what? Close to Allah Azza wa Jalla. Allah gives them that insight. So really, again, we're on that search for something that we don't need. It's just a false sense of security. Yeah? And how many people said, so-and-so is the best and in love and understood and this and that, and their marriages end. Well, if that person understands you, how did the marriage end? If that person truly understands who you were. So it's not really, it's false. It's not really true that someone truly understands someone else. It may happen, yeah, but it's not the norm. Tamam? So that uns that we seek, that comfort, right, intimacy, should truly be with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then he goes on. This is the build up to the next one, but I'm not going to go too deep into that one. He says, وَلَا أَعْرِضَنَّ عَمَّنْ أَحَبَّ حَبِيبًا سِوَاهُ أو سِوَايَ. And I shall cause to be estranged those who love other than me. Right? So he says in Arabic, so we can understand what he's saying. وَلَا أَعْرِضَنَّ عَمَّنْ. Al-i'rad is not just being estranged. Allah will turn away. Al-i'rad means they give the cold shoulder, really, if you want to look at i'rad. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will turn away from those who love other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? So if that individual is looking for the one, isn't that what they call it? Is they still use that term or not? When we were young, that's what it was like, my soulmate. I'm looking for my soulmate. Right? Not to say they don't exist, they do exist. But that's not the purpose of life. If you watch the movies, that's what they're telling you. The purpose of life is to find your soulmate. Movies, kill everyone, kill 500,000 people to save your family. Yeah, that's what happens in the movies. They kill everyone to save their family. I'm not saying you shouldn't look after your family, but if in Islam, the rule is, if someone points a gun to your head and says, if you don't shoot someone else, I'm going to shoot you, yeah? The ruling is you have to get shot. That's the rule. It's 1 for 1. If they say to you, here's a bomb, right? I'm going to blow all these people up, or vice versa. I'm going to, either you blow all these people up or I'm going to kill you. You got to get shot. It's only if you're going to save the lives, only if there's a group of us and they say we have to shoot this one person, otherwise they're going to shoot all of us, then we can shoot that one person because of the numbers.
Have you seen it lying?
Who?
Like the person?
Who's the person with the gun?
Yes, so for example.
If the person threatening you?
Yeah.
Yeah, if they're lying, then you don't have to do it.
Can you shoot them instead?
If you could, yeah, that's probably the best idea. If you could shoot them, that'd be the best. So in Islam, you can't go and kill everyone, right? You just can't go arbitrarily killing people. And look at the countries that are producing these videos, the ones that talk about justice, the ones that talk about the rule of law, the ones that talk about due process. Don't worry about that, just kill the guy. That's what they're teaching us in movies. Just follow our nafs. So whatever's close to me, whatever belongs to me, whether it's my family or my possessions, just kill everyone to get them back. What do you mean? That's not how it is in life. That's not to say if someone oppresses you, you can't, defend yourself. That's not the case. But what I'm saying is how badly skewed it is that, like I said, they kill the whole half of the country to get a few people back. Because what it means is that the lives of these people are more valuable than the lives of all those other people. That's generally what it is. And generally it's dark people and white people. Non-white, I think the word should be white and non-white. Because non-white is white is the standard and non-white is the other. So generally, that's what's going on. Right? Like, watch the movies. Even from back in the day, they used to go to Colombia or South America or someone, kill all the people, get the white people out. Well, now they go to Africa and Middle Eastern countries, Afghanistan and that, and they kill everyone and get the white people out. That's what it's teaching. That's what it's been for such a long time, because it's easy to do. So we have to overcome that. We have to overcome that. We have to overcome Allah Azza wa Jalla turning away from us because we're loving other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not to say that family isn't important. It's the most important thing after the deen and health. It's a very, very important thing. But it's not to the level where we're just arbitrarily doing whatever we want to do, right? And going against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not that important. He says, Inna li ibadan inna jawni asightu ilayhim. O Moses, I have servants to whom I listen when they speak to me. I'll just read this in English because it's in Arabic. It's murad-afat. It's synonyms. It just sounds pretty much the same. He says, I have servants to whom I listen when they speak to me, to whom I come when they call me, whom I bring closer when they approach me, whom I protect when they draw nearer, whose side I take when they take mine, to whom I am sincere when they are sincere with me. MashaAllah, just draws on. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that, and it goes back to that hadith that says, the Prophet says that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whoever comes to him this much, Allah comes to him a handspan, whoever comes a handspan, Allah comes an arm span, whoever walks to Allah, Allah runs to them, and then Allah Azza wa Jalla becomes their eyes to see and their ears to hear. Right? So that's the connotation there. The person, and what's the meaning of the hadith? The hadith is do the fara'id. The meaning of the hadith is my servant does not draw closer to me except by that which I have made obligatory upon him or her. Afwan. And then by the nawafil, by the extra deeds. So that's reserved for the people who will progress into Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by fulfilling all their wajibat, all the things that are obligatory upon them. Inna dawni aqbaltu ilayhim. If they come near to me, I come towards them. In aqbalu alayya adnaytuhum. If they aqbalu, if they come towards me, adnaytahum, I bring them near. I allow them to come within the divine presence, is what he's saying subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wa in danaw minni qarrabtahum. And then when they become close to me, when they become near to me, then they're close. They're by my side if you want. وَإِن تَقَرَّبُوا مِنِّي اكتفيتهم. No. اكتنفتهم. الكنف. If they come close to me, then they'll kind of like be kanaf. They'll be under my, in my lap almost. Kanaf is, they'll be extremely close to me. almost in my care, if you like. وَإِنْ وَالُونِي وَالَيْتَهُمْ. And if they make me their wali, right? If they leave all their affairs to me, I will give them an affair, a station in other words. I will give them an affair to be, or I will be sufficient for them in their affairs. وَالَيْتَهُمْ. Not وَالَيْتَهُمْ, وَالَيْتَهُمْ. I will be sufficient. If they leave to me all their affairs, I will take care of all their affairs. وَإِنْ صَافَوْنِي صَافَيْتَهُمْ. It says, whom I reward with act, whose affairs I manage and whose hearts and states I govern. So Allah Azza wa Jal, in عَمَلُوا لِي جَازَيْتَهُمْ. That's before that. Whose side I take when they take mine, to whom I am sincere when they are sincere, to whom I reward when they act. وَإِنْ عَمَلُوا مِي جَازَيْتُ. If they do good for me, do good deeds, I'll reward them. أَنَا مُدَبِّرُ أُمُورَهُمْ. I am the one who is sufficient for their affairs. I'm the one who manages their affairs. I'm the one who plans their affairs, subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَسَائِسُ قُلُوبَهُمْ وَأَحْوَالَهُم. I'm the one who is that's the governance one. I govern their hearts and their states. So this wasa'is is from the siyasa, the machinator, if you like, the one who takes care of all their conditions. In other words, their states and their ahwal. So you know the difference between a hal and a station, don't you? Hal and a maqam. Should know it anyway. قلوبهم وأحوالهم لم أجعل لقلوبهم راحة إلا في ذكري. And that's it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in this one that I do not make for their hearts any sort of peace or tranquility except in my remembrance. Because those people have attained that station. Those people have attained that nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you should try that. When you've had a stressful day, when you're upset with whatever's gone on in your life, instead of like scrolling and trolling, right? Get your tasbih or whatever you do, or set your alarm for, your countdown, whatever it's called, your alarm for 10 minutes, and just sit there and remember Allah, even in the dark. Burn some incense, whatever. Sit there in the dark even. If you have wudu, it's better. If you're facing qibla, it's better. And just make salawat, or make istighfar, or tasbih, or tahleel, subhanallah, la ilaha illallah, tahmeed, any one of those things. Just sit for 10 minutes and see how you feel. See how you feel. And then on another day when you forget to do that, when you watch TV or whatever it is, it'll take you hours and hours and hours and hours. You won't even feel that raha. You won't even feel that ease and that tranquility, because there's no ease and tranquility in those things. The ease and tranquility, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, is in the hearts of those people as given to Him. فَهُوَ لِأَسْقَامِهِمْ شِفَاء. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is a cure for their sicknesses. وَعَلَى قُلُوبِهِمْ دِيَاء. And for their hearts, light. Allah Azza wa Jalla enlightened those people's hearts. لَا يَسْتَأْنِسُ إِلَّا بِي. They find solace only in me. Solace means respite. Respite means they feel comfortable. Only comfort they can get is in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَلَا يُحِطُّونَ رِحَالُ قُلُوبِهِمْ إِلَّا عِنْدِي. And they allow their hearts to rest in me alone, and are settled only going towards me. وَلَا يَسْتَقِرُّوا بِي قَرَارًا أو قَرَارٌ إِلَّا إِلَيَّ. So the rihal, in other words, it's not very clear in the English, but what he says is that those individuals' hearts will only be at ease when they're traveling to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That sayr that we keep on talking about. Unless they're traveling to Allah, unless they're progressing in their spiritual states, unless they're progressing in their akhlaq, in their conduct, unless they're progressing and increasing in their ibadat, unless they're increasing in their understanding and gnosis of Allah Azza wa Jal, then they're not content. There's something missing in their lives. And when he says rihalul qulub, is the rihal is provision, yeah, right? Like the provision. The provision they have for their hearts only goes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So in other words, they only set their hearts, if you want to look at it on that way, they only set their hearts on travel to Allah. That's what their hearts are connected to. Their heart's not connected to buying and selling and more and beautiful and less beautiful and stronger and bigger and mustier and whatever else. Their hearts, they only permit their hearts to travel to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَلَا يَسْتَقَرُّ بِي قَرَارٍ إِلَّا إِلَيَّ, which is fine here, and are settled only when going towards me. So there's two different things here. One is about the hearts. Another one, istiqrar. Al-qarar is Al-qarar is to be definitive in making decisions. So really, they're only satisfied in decisions they make that take them closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the only satisfaction they get. وَلَا يَسْتَقِرُّ بِقَرَارٍ إِلَّا إِلَيَّ. Right? So they're not satisfied with any decision they make unless that decision is to go closer to Allah, to progress to Allah. Tamam? Is there any questions about any of that? Like, it was a bit intense, eh? It was super intense, actually. Unfortunately, that's how it goes sometimes. And when you're talking about these things, that's the exercise of the heart, right? That's the exercise of the soul. You know, that as our hearts and souls get stronger, they can take more intensity. They can take, you know, that's why Sayyidina Bilal and these people, you know, they were on the top of their game. And so it doesn't matter what physical punishment they were under, they were able to survive it. And the Prophet of Allah, alayhi salatu wasalam, because as it was said that he was made from nur, so when he went to Sidratul Muntaha, when he went to the last lote tree, and then he said to Sayyidina Jibreel, come with me. He said, actually, you go first. And so Jibreel said, no, I can't go past this point. And he said, what do you mean? He said, if I do, I'll be incinerated. I'll be burnt. There'll be nothing left of me. But the Prophet ﷺ, he could progress because of his state. He was made of nur. And as some of the hadith Jabir says that everything that in the universe and the cosmos was made from the nur of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ in the cosmos, right? And so therefore that nur overpowered the burning nur that's there, right? He's made for it, alayhi salatu wasalam. He can handle that thiqal. سَنَلْقِي عَلَيْكَ قَوْلًا ثَقِيلًا. We're going to lay upon you a very heavy statement. قَوْلًا ثَقِيلًا. It's a very heavy statement. And the Prophet saying his state could handle it. And the trials and tribulations that he went through, the difficulties that he went through as a child, from his parents dying, grandfather, mum, grandfather, mum, grandfather, uncle, wife, all these things that he went through, all the difficulties that he suffered, that only made him stronger. So that's why, you know, those difficulties that we have in our lives, if we face them the right way, they'll make us more prepared to be closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And here's our example. أَشَدُّ النَّاسِ ابْتِلَاءً الْأَنْبِيَاء ثُمَّ الْأَمْثَلُ ثُمَّ الْأَمْثَلُ. The people who have the most trials and the most difficulties in life are the prophets. Then who's like them, and then who's like them. You know, then who's similar to them or similar to them. So that's why Imam Haddad saying these things at the end of the book rather than the beginning of the book, because at the beginning we've fallen asleep probably or passed out or something. But at the end of the book, after we've gone through all those other things that we've talked about and hopefully implemented them in our own lives and reminded ourselves of them and spoken to others of them, then bi-iznillah azza wa jalla, we would have the spiritual strength. Because for the people of Allah, that actually enlivens them, as we just read. Right? Those things, they'll be half dead, half asleep, half sick, and they hear things like that, and they come to life spiritually. They come to life, irrespective, because that their spiritual state overtakes the physical state, and they act accordingly. Any questions about any of those things or something else? Anything else? No.
Just something else. Are animal figurine toys okay to have in the home, like the children to play with?
Yeah, so there's a lot of questions about from different opinions about the ulama, about things like that. So certain Aisha, she used to have a toy horse and toy dolls, but what they used to do is cover the eyes or have no eyes, because when the eyes are there, then it's easy for the jinn to make the levis. So that would be the condition. Yeah, so that, like the animal, wouldn't have the eyes there; it would just look like it without having the eyes. So if you have a doll, you take off the eyes, and if it's a horse, just you can tape them, whatever.
But when you mean it's an actual toy or the kid playing with it?
Well, firstly the toy, because it's empty,
Yeah.
and the jinns go inside those things, and then if the kid touches the thing with the jinn in it, it's not very healthy. Yeah, if you say Bismillah when you take off your clothes, hanging clothes isn't the best. It's best to fold them, and then say Auzu billahi minash rajim, and then when you put them on, start with the right. Auzu billahi minash rajim. Alhamdulillah alladhi razaqani hadha bighayri hawla wala quwwatin minni. If you say that, then you put your left, then inshallah it'll keep those things off you bi'idhnillah ta'ala and away from you. Tamam? Any other questions? Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala khayril anam wa ala alihi wa sahbihi sallam ya arhamar rahimin. Alhamdulillah bi rahmatika al-wasi'a wa yasrimuna bil hayat al-ba'd wa ma tatabbat aqdamana ala sirat al-mustaqim. يا أرحم الراحمين نور قلوبنا بلا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله واجعله آخر كلام من حياتنا. نسألك يا أرحم الراحمين أن ترفع درجاتنا عندك وأن تسن بك، ونسألك يا أرحم الراحمين أن تعلمنا كتابك وتعلمنا سنة نبيك وتعلمنا ما هو خير لنا في الحياة وبعد الممات. نسألك يا أرحم الراحمين أن تغفر لنا ذنوبنا وسيئاتنا وأن تجعلنا من المقربين إليك. ونسألك يا أرحم الراحمين أن تعلمنا علما نافعا وأن توفقنا أن نطبق هذا العلم في حياتنا. ونسألك يا أرحم الراحمين أن نكون بالدعوة إلى غيرنا بهذا العلم. نسألك يا أرحم الراحمين أن لا تجعل هذا العلم فقط لقلقة اللسان أو استماع الأذان، ولكن دخل هذا العلم بقلوبنا بنور يا أرحم الراحمين وتوفيق وفكر يا أرحم الراحمين. Ya Allah, we ask you to forgive us and forgive our sins and elevate our status in this life and the next. We ask you to increase the status of our Mashaykh, Ya Allah, so that we may become the coolness of the eyes of the Prophet Muhammad alayhi abdul salatu askat taslim. We ask you to benefit from the knowledge which we've gained, Ya Allah. We ask you to increase us in status in this world and the next through that knowledge by allowing us to implement it, Ya Allah, by allowing us to propagate it, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, we ask you to make so those people that make us the people of Allah, the people that are close to you, the people that seek refuge in you, the people that seek only your support, the people that seek only your intimacy, Allah, and the people of whose affairs you take care of, Ya Arhamar Rahimin, and those people that only rely on you. بخير ولطف وعافية ولا حضرة النبي بسر الفاتحة.